Alright, so we're going to go for a little airplane ride today. This is going to be from Colorado Springs to Aspen. And Aspen is set in a little valley surrounded by mountains, and the weather is kind of bad up there. So this should be interesting. We'll see if we make it. Let's see here. Let's get back into the airplane and go ahead and get her started up. Turn on the key, set this to ground, push this, set that to start, push that, and we're waiting for oil pressure on the right engine. Once we get to 40, we'll give it the fuel and it'll start, usually. Okay, we got 40. Should see it turn. There goes the blade. We'll let that get lit. Okay, so that one's running. Let's repeat this process for the left engine. Once again, wait for pressure. And there it is. Give it the fuel. And there she goes. So we'll go ahead and turn on the right generator since that one's fully started. That one's lit, so we'll turn on the left generator. Turn on the avionics. Turn on this. And as far as button pushing goes, we got the basics out of the way. Alright, so I'm going to use ATC to get out of the airport and probably discontinue the use of ATC after that. Just because around here ATC, especially going into Aspen, almost every time I've been into Aspen, air traffic control gets into a weird loop. It tells me climb to 15,000. 10 seconds later, descend to 14th. It goes back and forth. It never can make up its mind. So I just gave up on using it. Let's see here. What else to do? Okay, so we need... This is going to be VORs. So the VOR we're going to track in on is 113.0. And we want 270 to get there, more or less. So that tunes my OBS to the course that I want. And then we're going to use a localizer, not an ILS, a localizer, to get into the runway. So I'm just getting these frequencies set. Okay. So, the next thing to do is turn on some lights. And we're probably going to be going into icing, so I'm going to turn on at least pitot heat. See what else we need when we get higher. Okay, so I got a course set. Alright, so let's go ahead and start doing the radio work. Pick up ATIS.
Colorado Springs Airport information, India 22000 Zulu. Wind 17 at 11. Visibility 9er. Sky condition, ceiling 12,100 feet broken. Temperature 15. Dew point 13. Altimeter 29.92. Visual runway 17 right and ILS runway 17 left departing runway 17 right and runway 17 left. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have India. Kilo Foxtrot Charlie Sierra automated weather observation 2200 Zulu. Wind 173 at 1.
Let's go ahead and get our clearance just for...
Colorado Springs clearance delivery, YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree, X-ray, ready to copy IFR clearance to Aspen.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray is cleared to Aspen Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 17 left climb and maintain 12,000 feet. Departure frequency is 124.0 squawk 7345.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree, X-ray, cleared to Aspen Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 17 left climb and maintain 12,000 feet. Departure on 124.0 squawk 7345.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray readback correct. Contact ground on 121.7. Good day.
Colorado Springs ground YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree, X-ray with India ready to taxi IFR.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray taxi to and hold short of runway 17 left via taxiway Charlie Echo Foxtrot cross runway Tree 1 Delta Alpha. Contact tower on 133.15 when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 17 left via taxiway Charlie Echo Foxtrot cross runway Tree 1 Delta Alpha YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray.
Okay, so they've given us clearance to taxi. Let's take a look at what that is going to do to us. Let's see. So on this chart, this is the airport. On this chart, I want to go from where I am on the little triangle here. They're telling us to go Charlie, taxi Charlie, Echo Foxtrot. So Charlie, that doesn't even make sense. 17 left is up here, top right. So Echo and Foxtrot sort of makes sense. Charlie, though, is on the opposite side. That does not make sense. So we're going to ignore this. Air traffic control in this simulator is sketchy. It really is. All right. I'm going to leave this on here. Okay, so we're going to go out, turn right, turn left, and then take that to the end of the runway. Let us begin. Undo the parking brake. Did I start the recording of this other thing? I did not. Dummy, dummy, dummy. Okay, so I'm going to start it now. Okay. Let's get underway again. This is where we're going to turn. We're going to take this first turn. Okay, so we're going to be taking our left here. Try to more or less follow the line. We are a tiny little airplane. And this is pretend. So if you can see the little pink triangle on the map, that is us moving up the taxiway here. Okay, so we're almost to the turn. Start slowing down. And we are at the runway. So we go to the next step, which is get onto the tower and ask for permission to take off.
Tower YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray at runway 17 left ready for departure IFR to Aspen.
YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray altimeter 29er.9er, 2 wind 17 tree at 11. Cleared for takeoff runway 17 left.
Okay.
Cleared for takeoff runway
So moving those
17
left
YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray.
Got our 2 notches of flaps in. Rotate. Wheels up. Start bringing the flaps in.
YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray contact Colorado Springs departure on 124.0. Good day.
Going to 124.0 YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray.
Colorado Springs departure altimeter 29er.9er to continue as planned.
Alright, so we are up and running. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to autopilot here. Have it take us to altitude, which is only another 1,000 feet up. I'm going to cancel IFR at this
Colorado
point.
Springs departure YV1L November, tree 9er
look at what's going on here. Get some lights going just in case it gets dark, because it can. Okay, so we are climbing to 22,000 feet now, and we're flying a little bit north of the VOR radial that I want, so we're going 280, and we're heading for the 270 radial. Let's switch back over to the map. So on the map, right now the airplane is centered. This is our course, more or less, if you follow the pink line. And Aspen is over here. It's down in the mountains. So we're going to fly up here to where the pink line ends, and then turn south to come into the runway. It's an unusual approach. But we'll talk more about that when that gets closer. For now, let's turn a little more north. We'll get on that course sooner. Not that it matters. Nobody's watching. Reduce this to 3,000 feet a minute so we can keep our speed up. So you can see it dropping off there to 120 knots. That's getting kind of slow. At this point, we've lost sight of the ground, which is no big deal. One way or another, we'll find it again. Oh, look, ground. Okay, so this is the MU2. It's a favorite of mine. I used to see these in and out of the local airport all the time, and they are the loudest thing on the ramp. So now that we're leveled off, I'm going to pull the props back to cruise. Should be about there, and that'll give us a little bit more speed. It's kind of like shifting in the high gear. Looks like we're building up a teensy bit of ice. Let's go ahead and turn all this stuff on. So I suspect we'll be in and out of the clouds all the way there, even at 22,000 feet. One of the interesting things on the MU2 is the wings with the tip tanks, the fuel tanks on the end of the wings. And it's got 3 sets of tanks. It's got the tip tanks, it's got the outer tanks, and then it's got the main tanks. Main tanks are where the engines draw their fuel from. The tip tanks, you generally want to drain those first. So some of the fuel is out in the tip tanks right now. And you can see that with the fuel gauge here, or the right fuel gauge. So I'm going to turn on the tip tanks, and you can see the quantity meter dropping on the meter here, and the main fuel gauge is climbing. So the tip tanks are draining into the main tanks. And what that does is it moves the inertia in towards the middle of the plane, and that helps with roll rate and things like that. It doesn't matter for a flight like this. A lot of pilots use this to manage the fuel during the flight. And so by the time they get to their destination, they've burned all the fuel in the exterior tanks, and now they're on just the main tanks. And it lets them keep an active, close eye on the fuel, fewer surprises. Because especially in this plane, you would not want to be coming down on final and discover, oh, we're out of fuel, only to have, full tip tanks or something. That'd be just embarrassing on the death notice. Let's see, let's turn on DME here. So we're 76 miles out of this VOR. Now this VOR, let's take a look at the map. This VOR is over here. It's north of the airport that we're going to. And it's sitting on top of a mountain. And so we're going to fly straight to that. And what I ultimately want to end up on is the 232 radial out the other side. So right now I'm kind of homing in on the 270, but we'll turn north a little bit to get lined up on that 232, and that sets us up for intercepting the approach into Aspen. So we're still coming in on this course line, which is about 270. And there's the Rocky Mountains taking a peek. So about 25 miles out, we're going to get onto the 270 radial now, just to speed up our trip to that VOR. Then about 25 miles out, I'll turn north again to start setting up for that lower radial. There. So the middle dial is showing our relationship to the 270 radial, because I picked the 270 on the dial, and so it's telling us where we are in relation to that. To the left, the solid needle is just pointing at the radial that we're on, which happens to point to the VOR as well. So these two needles are more or less showing the same thing, just in different ways. Go ahead and turn on course. big propellers swinging inches from your head just always freaks me out. It's rare, but once in a while they do fail. But like I said, it is rare. Okay, so just going to keep an eye on the center line here, make sure we stay on that. And that'll give a good indication as to whether we're getting wind, either from north or south. This plane, I don't have it has a GPS option, I just don't have that enabled. I like to, in an old plane like this, I like to fly with the old avionics, get a feel for what flying was like before GPS, which is back when I flew. Now I do have this map, which is kind of a cheat, but it has its uses. It replaces all the paper maps that you would normally have to carry, plus the approach charts and stuff. So, like, you used to see airline pilots getting onto their flights, and they'd have a big, heavy box of charts with them, and those would be all the paper charts and all their paperwork for operating the airplane, but mostly it was maps. It was just maps for all the possible routes and approaches and whatnot that they might be faced with during their duty shift. And it was quite the library that they'd have to carry around. That has all been replaced with like an iPad. So in the cockpit now, they might have a printout showing the immediately relevant information for their flight plan plus alternate airports that they got from their airline briefing. But all the just-in-case stuff is going to be digital. We're 47 miles out. I'm looking right down here for that, by the way. So this is the DME. It's on N1, Nav 1, which is what this is tuned to. And that's telling me 46.5 nautical miles. And this is what they call flying in the soup. Down below us are the Rocky Mountains. The lowest I like to fly over that area is about 16,000. Oh, there's the ground. I specifically asked for rain on this flight. I'm not seeing rain. Very disappointed. All right, so we're 38 miles out. I'll just wait. I'm so impatient. So about 25 out, I'm going to turn back to 300 and set the OBS, the the card on the outside ring on this VOR. I'm going to set that to 232, which will give us the setup for the next leg. And I'm doing that early because there won't be time to do it after we pass the VOR. It's a very short, just a minute or so before we have to make the next turn after that. So I want to be already established on the right course before we get there. And we should also start heading down. Let's shoot for 14,000. At 1,500 feet a minute. So descending like this, now the question is, will we overspeed? And we don't want to overspeed. Okay, so we just came into range of the airport's localizer transmitter. And so this hollow needle is pointing at the airport itself. And the runway has a heading of 153. And so that's what we need to, the needle will come around and point to that, and that's the course we need to be on to get to that airport. But we don't have to worry about that until after the VOR. So I'm going to pull the power back so we don't overspeed this. We go ahead and set our course to 300 and set the OBS to 232. Ground again. So I wanted this flight to be primarily instrumented. Looks like the weather's going to be nicer to me. I wanted it to be bad weather. Oh well. Can't have everything you want. Alright, so as we're watching this solid needle over here on the left, and it is slowly swinging around towards that 232 heading that I want. It'll get faster and faster as we get closer. Power back a little bit more. I do have all the stress and damage enabled, so it will definitely crash us if I overspeed. And that would be unfortunate. so this needle's moving. Let's go ahead and shallow our, let's go ahead and just turn to that heading. Should put us pretty close. We are 9 miles out. Just about to altitude. That ground is a lot closer than it was. So I want to get stable on this course, and then I'm going to switch the radios over to the next arrangement, which basically switches them. What's pointing at the VOR will change to point to the runway and vice versa. Okay, so we're leveled out at 14,000. We're on course. Switching both radios. Switching this OBS to 153, which is the course to the runway. And so what we should see is the course needle coming towards the center. Okay, so the hollow needle here is now the VOR. So we're passing the VOR. Pull the power back. So we're now past the VOR. There's the runway, the blinky light over there. Waiting for the localizer needle here to come to life. We should start seeing it move in. Get the power in before we stall because I was being a dummy. Keep it up at around 150. And of course, there comes the localizer. Let's go ahead and get that turn. Alright, so there's the airport, almost in front of us now. Need to lose airspeed and need to lose altitude. Alright, so we're going to set that to 1,300 feet a minute because of my speed. Pull the power back. Put out a notch of flaps to increase our drag. Here comes our center line. Put a second notch of flaps out. Yep, we got 2 flaps. Just want to keep this around 120. Put out the wheels. Flew through my center line, so let's get that back into order. So many things you have to pay attention to all at once. It's quite the coordinated dance here. Sit up in my seat. Alright, so we're clear of any dangerous peaks directly between here and the runway. So that's a good thing. We'll go ahead and put out the last of our flaps. Increase our rate of descent. Technically I should call it a tower, but you know, it's my simulator. Oh, what the heck. Let's give them a call. See what they say.
Aspen Tower YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray is 5 miles north 10,800 feet with kilo to land.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray Aspen Tower. Altimeter 29er.9er 21172 at 11. Make right downwind runway tree.
Okay.
Make right downwind runway tree YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray.
See what happens when you ask for permission? Now they want me to land on 3-3. Alright, well, I'm going to come off autopilot. Get over here for our right hand downwind. Try to keep it 9,000 feet. I don't have my head tracker on, so this is going to be tricky. So now we're on just a regular old visual approach, which means we're not concerned with what the radio navigation is telling us. So there's the runway. So I pretty much want to fly out to where this mountain is ahead of us to the right.
YV1L November, Tree 9er Tree X-ray wind 172 at 11. Cleared to land runway tree.
Here I am not paying attention to my altitude. We've climbed 400 feet. Alright, let's go ahead and start our turn. The airport's a little under 8,000 feet. Pull the power back. Wheels are down. Flaps are all down. There's the runway.
YV1L November, tree 9er tree, X-ray exit runway when able. YV1L November, tree 9er tree, X-ray contact ground on 121.9er.
Thrust reversers are staying in reverse.
YV1L November, tree 9er tree X-ray, did you copy?
Going to 121.9er YV1L
There we
November
go.
tree 9er tree X-ray.
Some kind of weirdness with the controls. So we're going to park over here. Just like this. And we have arrived in Aspen, safe and sound. It wasn't that bad a flight. I had thought I had set up some rain, but apparently not. Welcome to a lesson on how to do it wrong. Anyway, thanks for coming along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, critiques, complaints, you just want to vent, have at it. That's what the comments are for. Take care. It's also always nice to turn the switches off. Just a nice thing to do for when you get back into the plane, you know where all the buttons are. Turn that off. Avionics, battery. Get rid of you, turn you back to there. And that is that. We are done. Have a good one, folks.